Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where the orchard of wisdom shows are at your fingertips. It ignites your soul, your heart, your spirit, your mind, and your body with illumination from people who have made the journey before you. They're here now to help you on your journey, on your path of self-discovery. We are funded by you, the audience, and the people we interview. If you wish to support us, please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com and press on our Fund Action button. Anything is appreciated. We'd like you to sit back and enjoy the shows. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest is Vanessa Ferlaino. Even in dark times, we can find the beacon of light. But how do we do it? Well, we often hear about the importance of positive thinking, or terms like grabbing the bull by the horns, when we hear about people attempting to make positive change. For many, this can seem completely daunting, and in some cases, unachievable. But Vanessa is proof that through self-belief and personal empowerment, you can not only make positive change in your own lives, but uplift and elevate others around for the betterment of the world. Amen, sister. Totally agree. Vanessa is a respected entrepreneur, a singer, songwriter, critically acclaimed author who has built her dream through hard work and sheer determination. Through her music, business endeavors, via her much lauded book, Human, Vanessa is achieving her goal of inspiring by example and offering up the words of wisdom on how to achieve what we wish to achieve. I think one of the important things is to actually recognize what it is we want to achieve. This is not a mere lip service. Vanessa has overcome a myriad of personal tragedies, seemingly unsurmountable obstacles on her way to achieving her success and being a positive voice for others. She says, to being human is about standing tall when our own truth, our voice is challenged. It's all about putting all different pieces of ourselves together so they can coexist inside of you. What we uncover and discover about ourselves leads us to further our truth and our authenticity. Again, amen, sister. You're speaking my language. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I love when people go on their journey of self-discovery and step into that beautiful understanding of their essence, of their truth, of their self-love. And that self-love is not only a love of you, it's a love of your purpose, it's a love of life, and it's a love of your contribution. And it is really what makes your world go round, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know for me, my whole self-discovery journey, I think it's one that never really ends, right? It's just this continuous, journey of, hey, I didn't know this about me. And, that's just like a whole new relationship with yourself. But it's love. It really is. And I know for myself, I think that, in media, right, there's such a defined way or a very specific way we usually are exposed to the concept of love. But yeah, when you go through this whole self-discovery journey, it's everywhere, right? It's like you're giving it everywhere, you want to receive it everywhere, and it's not just for you and people, it's like the planet and the world and your connection, right? There's just so much more to uncover in love itself when we talk about our own self-discovery, starting with our love for ourselves, right? Like it starts there, and then we keep getting into a better relationship with that, closer to ourselves, and then we start giving that out everywhere else around us. So yes, it's really, really, really beautiful.
It's beautiful that it's being discovered in a person so young as yourself. For my generation, for a lot of people, it was 50, 60, 70 before they kind of gave themselves permission to be the love they seek. To put that love value on themselves, because they were still living very much by the doctrine of what you should be, what you've got to be, what society will accept you to be, right? And seeking permission out instead of seeking permission in. And the only permission you need is from yourself, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now you're speaking my language. But yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's 100%. We're the only ones who can give ourselves the permission, the life that we want to live. Our life is our choice. And it's a
Yes.
choice we make every single time we decide to do something for ourselves. Every time we listen to our inner voice that's telling us, oh, this is what I like, there's always, I think, just to your comment about being young, I mean, I think with our younger generation, it has to start there. I mean, right, just from, being conditioned with going to school and, there's always right and wrong. There's tests, you have to answer things like this. Like that's immediately, we're conditioned right there from the start. But then as we get older, we're always telling kids, career paths, career paths, career paths. And I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was bizarre being a teenager. And I was like, hold on here. I mean, I'm 16 years old and you expect me to know what I want to do for the rest of my life? I mean,
you're going to know who you are first to know what you want to do, right? They never encourage the self-discovery. It is immediately, you are now going to go to school to do X, Y, and Z. Then you're married, have 2.2 kids, the picket fence. You will go this far in your job. Then you will retire. Then you will do that. And it's like, hello? What kind of life is that?
No, exactly. There's no room. This whole system is just set up, right? And there's no room for us to explore who we are. And so we have to create that room and create that space for ourselves. And it starts again with us internally. We create that space within ourselves, and then we create that space. We, meet ourselves, breed ourselves, keep developing that relationship. And as we do that and we clear out all this conditioning, clear out the trauma, clear out all these things, and we keep creating more and more space to keep reconnecting with ourselves. And then as that connection gets deeper and deeper, we decide to give that back out, right? We start giving that back out to everybody else around us. So and
that's the gift back to you. The more love and energy and divine that you can give to someone else, the more that it reflects back on you. And I'm not talking about in praise and, oh, look at how wonderful they are. It is that satisfaction of knowing that what you've done is helping someone else, that's lifting someone else up, that's brought a smile to someone else's face. That automatically lifts yourself up. And it just, oh, this feels good. So therefore, I'm going to do it more. Let that be your addiction, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think too, it's genuine, right? It's authentic. It's like you said, right? It's not this, I got a prize for this. Right. It's like, no, it's this genuine, I want to give to people because I want you to be better for you, not for me. I want you to be the person you want to be for yourself, because I'm experiencing this for myself and I don't want to take that from anybody. I want everyone else to also live that life and believe in that and experience that. So yeah, absolutely. It really is about that authentic self. The true authentic self, that when we become more accustomed to being and more close to that true self, we want everyone else to experience that as well. And I think if we all did, our whole society would be a very different place.
Well, we're very much on the reward, thing. It's like, oh, you've got a gold star. Oh, no, black star for that one. And it's like, when I had my last border collie, I never gave her treats for the things she learned. She got treats when we were, at home for whatever, or when we were at the end of the walk, or where we stopped off for coffee, she got treats then. She didn't get on the way. She got praise. Oh, wonderful work. Good girl. Wow, you did that well. I used to say thank you to her too, which somebody thought was really odd, that I actually said thank you to my dog for sitting down or bringing the stick back. But that was the praise that she needed and the encouragement she needed to do, not the bribery, from the treat, because that's how I looked at it as. And is that if you look at it, we're always giving things for good behavior or achievement. Instead of that should be something natural that comes from you. And instead it's a collective celebration.
No, absolutely. And I'm so I have a dog too. Her name is Ivy. She's a Catahoula leopard dog. She's a rescue and I love her. But I actually do not say good dog either. I say thank you. I say thank you. And the reason that I do it is because I kind of have a bit of a problem that we as humans have taken an animal and we're imposing all our humanness onto it, right? So I think for me, it's weird to say good dog. And I just don't. I'm like, no, I'm exactly the same. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, dog. Thank you for bringing this back to me. That's hilarious. I'm so happy to hear. I'm not
Well, I never kind of knew I was doing it until someone pointed it out to me. She
Yeah.
said, I've never heard somebody say thank you to their dog. And she said, but she's so happy to bring things to you. And you know, or, you know, when you get it from her, you say thank you. If you've trying to get a stick from a border collie sometimes could be difficult. But when I would say thank you, then she would let it go. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the agreement. And, but it's that she'd never heard of that before. And I said, well, why shouldn't I say thank you? You know, it's
Yeah.
that, you know, I'm pleased. And I'd like to see please and thank you a lot more in society, because we've taken a lot for granted. And, you know, with a great deal of our devices that we have today, they have taken away a lot of chores and things that we used to do. And yes, that's all wonderful, great to have more time to do other things. But instead, it seems to be the nose is in the phone instead of go and do those wonderful things, because other things are being done for you. And, you know, I always find the pendulum swings too far on one side before it finds a happy medium. And I'm hoping that we're coming back to the happy medium, because we need kids to read. We need them to be inquisitive. As you said, we are going to be on our self-discovery to the day we leave the vessel, because that's what life is about. I'm 67. I'm still in discovery. I'm in discovery with every show I do. I'm in discovery through my beautiful grandson and all his discoveries. Life is still a wonderment, right? And we need to be exploratory. And that means sometimes we need to read, we need to listen, we need to have conversations, we need to participate, and, you know, be integrative with each other. And yet we've seen a lot of the device, but of course a great deal of the media, separating rather than inviting. Have you found that a lot with your generation?
Yes, absolutely. I have found that, and it's kind of heartbreaking, because it's putting us all into our lower energy state, right? Instead of bringing us together, it's just inciting a lot more negativity. And that just, when we look at our energy levels, it just brings us down into those lower vibration zones. And that's not where we want to be. I think too, the other thing that, you know, when we talk about, finding ourselves in this whole self-discovery journey, you talked about, you know, having to bring people together and participate and have conversations. But I also think the other side to that, I think it also does require a lot of silence. That was kind of a lot of my journey too. And that's, my book is kind of about that it's that my experience in that silence period where I just, you know, I was like, I just need to sit here and deal with my, you know, traumatic experiences. I needed to stop hearing all the voices and the conditioning and all the needs that everybody else needed from me, because they need me to be somebody so that they can keep going, right? I needed to just live in silence. And for me, it was after I lost my father, I just thought I need to take a break. And I just literally lived in this little studio apartment, you know, did not talk to anybody. I wasn't even working for a period of time. And I literally just sat in silence and dealt with all of my emotions. And just, you know, I engaged in the reading. That was when I taught myself piano. I was also doing journaling a lot as part of acting training. And that's where the book Human came from, was all of that discovery in my time of silence through all those creative endeavors. Because I know we were chatting earlier, you were saying music is the soul to life, and it's true. Like that creativity, it's so beautiful, because it's this subconscious activation, right? That we don't have to think about being creative, we can just be creative, right? And that is exactly what helps us, you know, create space in the body so that we can keep connecting with ourselves. But yeah, 100%, I think that there is a portion of it that does require some of that silence, especially in current society, where we have the media, instant gratification, notifications for everything, right? That it's even more challenging to just be silent, right?
I call it the squirrel syndrome. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Up, you know, squirrel, you know, notification, squirrel. And it's like, it takes us away from being present. Right. And, you know, I'm 100% with you on silence, because although I do this and it's about communication, I love actually being in silence. When I drive, I don't have the radio blasting. I just love the silence and allow what I'm seeing to kind of immerse and dance with me. There's always a dialogue going on in my head. There's always something going on. How can we literally hear ourselves think if we constantly have the noise on the outside? How do we get to know who we are and what we need if we constantly have the outside stimulation? So 100% with you on, we need the silence to know who we are and how we are going to integrate and talk with other people. But otherwise it's mindless chatter. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. That's hilarious too. I don't drive with radio on ever. I drive in silence. When I used to run, all silence. I never listen to music. It's just, it comes down to being present. And I think it's interesting. My experience and my journey has been as I keep, kind of cleansing and taking stock on my life and keep being creative and finding all these outlets. I find that is what being present is. It's like that silence within yourself, right? That it is this silent place where everything's happening around you, but I don't need to touch anything because it's not mine. My peace is all silent, and I'm present right here because this is what matters, is me, my connection to myself, my connection to the body, and that's it, right? And it is, to me, that's how I think of like presence. Is just, it's peace, it's still, it's tranquility, it's silent, and it's really beautiful. And I hope everyone has the opportunity.
Yes, please go in. But it's rather, the analogy of a buffet, and the buffet is that you could be overstimulated. I want everything. Well, if you have everything, you're not only going to be overfull, but you're going to get obese. Right. And you're not going to know which ones you really like, because you've just put everything on the plate, right? Over saturation. Whereas if you pick one or two and you truly flavor and you truly taste and you truly devour and you truly experience it, right? Then next time you may try something else, and then you can really get the experience of it. I feel right now in society, we are oversaturated. We're overabundant. And that has left us very, very poor spiritually.
Absolutely. And it's all part of that conditioning, right? That the more that our society has grown, the more that our economic engine has become more sophisticated. It's become, like there's too much. There's all these competition, right? Like if you think of the workplace, we got to compete with the neighbor because now you need the house and you need all the games and the tools and the toys and everything, right? That we just have, our sense of self is very disconnected now, right? That we're so consumed. We believe we need these things, but we don't even question, do I actually need this? Because it's in front of us all the time. And again, when we look at the impact of social media, right? Like the exact same thing, there's advertisements, then there's new content. I can close my app and then open it again in 5 seconds, and there's a totally new feed, new content, new ads. Like there's always something in front of us. And I think this kind of points back to silence, that, when you're in that silent period, you don't have that. You don't need to engage in that. And that's why you can just sit there and hear yourself. But I think that sometimes we're too afraid to hear ourselves. I mean, even when I was thinking,
it requires that you've got to be honest with yourself, and not many people want to be. Yeah,
it's true. But it's scary, a lot of my experiences, I mean, in my book, I talk a little bit about, like abusive relationships, sexual assault, like all those types of things. They're very difficult to want to spend time with. But the reality is that you have to, because they are stored in your body, right? And if you
need to be released.
Exactly. If you pretend they're not there, they're still there, and you're going to start throwing it out at everybody else around you and not even know. So you need to take that space and time to discover those feelings and release them 100%,
right,
and keep creating more space.
The thing about any form of trauma, people want you to talk, but no, I don't want to talk about it. No, it's too hard to go there. The thing is, if you don't go there, if you don't release it, if you don't detach yourself from the emotion around it, it is always going to be in you. It's always going to be dictating, and it is always going to stifle and cripple you. When you actually do spend it, and the one thing about trauma is going through the process to get through the other side, to be able to talk about it without an attachment, right? And also to be able to look back and go, oh my God, look where I was. Look where I am now.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Your own self-empowerment because you were willing to go through the process.
Absolutely. And the hardest part is I think getting started. I know that for me, there was almost this it's almost a strange addiction. Once you get started, it's hard, but then because you keep releasing, and that release feels good because you can feel like, I remember for me, I could feel my body, like I could feel lighter, literally physically, I could feel lighter just by releasing all of that. And it becomes exciting. And again, that whole self-exploration thing, you start enjoying exploration because you can feel the difference in your body, and you feel lighter. And again, that whole idea, you just keep creating space. And then that's where my creativity just kept going, because it's like, oh my gosh, I have all this space now to just be creative and let it all out, and send it out, and send new energy and higher energy and love everywhere around us. And
it's like house cleaning. You know, you start in one area and then you realize, oh my God, I didn't realize how dirty that was or how dusty that was, right? Because now everything yucky stands out. And then when you finish doing the house, the self-satisfaction, nobody wants to get up and do it. But when you get doing it, you can't stop because you want the whole place clean. And then you can sit back and go, oh my God, I really like this whole fresh feeling, this fresh look, right? And in that freshness and upliftingness of that cleansiness, it will invite different vibrations and different visions into you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, you know, dirt sees dirt.
Yeah, it's true. It is, your whole perspective changes, you know, and I found even for myself, you know, carrying all of that is a weight, and it's so much easier to just let go. Right. Or I mean, conceptually, it's easier to let go. You have to kind of go through that clearing out. But once you get to that point of just realizing that awareness of, I'm just hanging on to this dead weight right now, I can't carry this with me anymore because it's holding me back. That getting to that level of awareness is then that point of, I need to just let this go. And again, letting go is this continuous thing, right? Every time you think about it or acknowledge it, it's the choice that you make to let it go, right? It's not this, again, when I think of the media, right? We talk of like letting go, like it's some
well, that's why that song was so big for children,
yes.
but so many of the adults, let it go, let it go.
Exactly, but it's so not like that. The reality of letting go is that it's your choice, and you know, you have to go through that cleansing to get to that point of understanding it's your choice. And then every time it creeps up again, it's still your choice. And sometimes
but it's your choice now what you put in that vessel. It's clean.
Yes.
You really want to go and put that same garbage in there. Right? You know, it's like, this doesn't serve it. This doesn't go with my aesthetics of my inside.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're far more conscious about what you bring into your arena. And, you know, the thing about, very big on the importance of self. Because the importance of self is the abundance of who you are. And the more abundant you are, the more your cup runneth over, the more you benefit other people. But self-importance is a totally different thing. And that is, I need to be important, and it doesn't matter who else it costs, which equals narcissism. And there is a fine line sometimes of going through that, especially when you're going through what I call your own recovery, and other people are looking at what you say, I need this time for myself. I need to spend this time on myself. And well, who do you think you are? Right? And you get the attacks from other people of them thinking that you're being self-important instead of self-aware. And putting the importance on self. And we owe it not only to ourselves, but we owe it to absolutely everybody in our vicinity and all the work that we do to be the best we can be of ourselves from the inside out. I don't care if you're a trillion CEO, the hottest thing out there since pancakes. If you're not happy on the inside, right, that is always going to reflect on everything you do on the outside. So your true value, your true enrichment, your true abundance comes from how enriched are you from the inside out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, for myself, when I was taking that time for myself, I know that, yeah, I had a couple experiences with people where, they interpret as a very negative thing. And at first, I remember, like, at first my reaction was like, you're hurt, and it's
Yeah.
hurtful, right?
Yes.
And but not only that, there's the anger, and but then eventually, as you keep dabbling, for myself, I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, that's their choice. If they want to stay on that energy level, that's their choice. If they can't, they can come up with me, or they can stay there. And I just sort of, again, that whole idea of letting go, just very slowly, like, I have to let go of this and keep moving forward. I hope to meet you again at a more enlightened state.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time for me to let this go right
now. And that,
now.
family members as well, and it's, but they're family. Yes, but if family truly love you, they'll let you elevate. And
exactly.
Sometimes they just can't go with you. It's not their journey. Yet, and it may never be their journey. But the thing is, you talked about being brought down to a lower energy. When you come up to a certain energy, you never want to go back down there for anyone. So really what you want to do is be able to maybe put your hand out if you feel that you're safe to do so, or just shed the light on. This is the ladder. Come up here. I'm not coming back down there. Come up here, right? Take the ladder. I don't care if you slip on a couple of steps. Just keep going, because it's worth it up here. And a lot of people make the mistake, especially when that first stage of of self-discovery, of going back down amongst that energy, and they get consumed again. And then it's so much harder to come out. Stay at your vibrational height and keep moving up. Don't ever go backwards. But you can shed light for other people. For them, inspiration begets invitation. When they're inspired by the energy that you are now, maybe it's an invitation for them to partake of their own energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key there too is what you're saying, you can extend a hand, but only if it's safe for you to do so, right?
And not be pulled down.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. And I think I know, it's like, when you're ready, come up here, come join me. And I think that kind of comes full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning about love. That is an act of love, right? Is that I want you to join me because I want you up here to be your best self for you, right? To operate at your highest capacity and at your highest energy state. Like, come up here because, it is enlightened. It is light up here.
Yes.
It is,
in every sense of the world, it is, people are afraid of the darkness. Well, the darkness is only fearful if there's no light in it, but you don't need an external light in there. You need to be the light. And when you are the light in the darkness, you use the darkness to really see the reflections of what's really important. The darkness is wonderful. I go there all the time, but I'm the light in it. And I don't need to be a great big, huge, enormous neon light. I can be just a flashbulb if I want to be, but I know I'm safe. But a lot of people talk about darkness as being the dark and evil place that you want to leave. No, don't give darkness such a bad rap. It's when you feel so alone and trapped that you can't see how to move forward. And you need some light shed on it to know that you can move forward. But ultimately, it's for you to be at peace in the darkness because you are the light.
Absolutely. When I first published my book, my concept of darkness to light was very much what you described, this fearful place, and then you find the light. But as I kind of kept writing, and by the time I got to the conclusion where, I think the writing the book was a little bit of part of my self-discovery as well. But then towards the end, my concept of the darkness to light completely changed to what you were just describing, this idea of, whoa, like, no, there is peace and comfort in this darkness. It is silence. Quiet. Exactly. It is silence. Like, that darkness is not this terrible place. And it never really was. It was just my perspective of darkness. But really, it is that quiet, still place for me to be present, be mindful, hear myself. And again, I am that light. I am the light. I have created that light, and I will keep creating this light the more time I spend in this darkness, because I can hear myself. I can keep hearing myself and keep being curious about who I am and why I am the way that I am. And does this align with who I do want to be and what I want to keep giving back? And that's me. And I can do that in this beautiful, quiet, tranquil darkness. So yeah, that was a very, very interesting perspective that I saw come out of my writing.
And some people are meant to be the trumpet, or the big spotlight, and that's fine if there's that role, but not everybody's ready for that. Some people, maybe it is only the flashbulb they need. It just enough light for them to go towards, because if you throw somebody directly into the light without the process, it's blinding. Right?
Yeah.
And they're just going to want to run back to the dark and not see the light again. But if it's a slow integration into it, where more and more light you can accept without kind of squinting, you're out into the light without worrying about the shadows chasing you. And then I can go back into the darkness at the time with my light. There is not the fear of the darkness anymore. And also there isn't the fear of being in the light, because a lot of people do fear being in the light.
Yeah, and I think that's super, it's very interesting, because this fear of being in the light, I think it comes from this idea that, like, these are just projections of what we're supposed to, if you want to be famous, you have to do these things, you have to act this way. And so therefore, if I don't act this way, then I can't be successful, I can't be famous, I can't be however you want to define it, right? And I think that's where that fear of being in the light comes from, which is very unfair, because again, it's very stifling to this idea of well, I'm in charge of my life and I decide who I want to be and what choices I want to make for me. And it's all very mixed signals, right? It's just like, how are we supposed to be human when we're supposed to be afraid of the dark, or we're also supposed to be afraid of this light? It doesn't make sense. Where do we find that peace, right? Where do we find that comfort?
The
it has to come from ourselves.
Yeah, yin and yang. That's where we need that balance. I was watching an interview with Indie the other day, or with Trevor Noah on the Daily Show, and she was there because of the whole Joe Rogan thing, and everything that was said there. And she had made a comment, and they immediately kind of attached to her, and she was saying that the music that she sings and that she writes, it is her spirit. And that's who she is. She said, maybe I should write in the angst, but she said, it just doesn't feel my voice. Right. And that she can still stand up for what's wrong in the grace of a soft voice. We don't have to go to angry voices and pitchforks. We can still have a beautiful impact, even with a whisper.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, that just comes down to empowerment, right? I mean, when we think of I do lots of work with tech companies as well, and I'm the COO of Athlete Tech Group, and so we run lots of programming for various athletes to prepare them for life after sport. And it all comes down to empowerment. Is one of the reasons that I got involved, because it's giving these people voices that were told they didn't have them. Right. And again, it's that, I think when you look at things like athletes, there's this connection there, because they are very much part of this system, right? We don't see it. We only see the glory, but we are missing out on that part that they work so hard. And there's so much of themselves, I think, that go into developing their craft of sport or athleticism. I think it's the same for writers and actors. So for me, in my head, that's a connection that just exists. But it is about empowerment. It's giving people that space to have their voice, the time to have their voice, the opportunity to develop for themselves. And yes, you don't have to be
their entire identity isn't what they've done or what they've achieved. That was their discipline. That was their entire life in that chapter of their lives. What is their next chapter? How did they bring maybe that same discipline, that same optimism, that same passion into something else? Right? Because that's the identity of who they are, the passion and the love for what they did. Right? Bring that same passion into another chapter in your life, and you can achieve your own medals in there as well. But for a lot of people, they get stuck in an identity of what they have been. And they don't know how to, I'm nothing anymore. I mean, you look at the Olympics, how many, we're famously for coming fourth in Canada by, one minuscule hundredth millionth of a second. They're famous for that. And it must suck not to get to the podium by something so utterly small. But for me, they're winners anyway, because they gave it their all. They went after it. We're inclined as a society to look at them afterwards and go, well, you didn't get the medal, so who are you? Right? Or you didn't succeed, or you let your country down. And the whole Simone thing during the Summer Olympics of saying, I'm not doing this. I'm putting myself at risk to do it. Standing up for herself, but also letting people know that there's this thing, I can't remember what it is called, but kind of, the wobblies, that you lose your focus, right? And that you could hurt yourself. And how many athletes have pushed themselves through that because they don't want to let their country down. They don't want to let their team down. She decided not to let herself down.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I remember when all that was happening, one of the thoughts in my head was at that time was, how can we as a society project so much of our own desires or our own desires that we don't even know that we have? We project it onto these athletes and onto these, even like actors and singers, right? We project so much because suddenly, like, how we as a society got so angry with her, like, letting our country down. It was like, how can we do that? Like, how can we project so much of that onto one individual and who's hopefully doing this for herself, right? The reason that she can make our country proud, or the country proud, is because she's doing this for her. If she was doing it for any other reason, it would be quite detrimental, right? And so I remember
we do see that in certain countries, right? And they will be punished if they've let their country down, because that's the type of countries they are. And if you talk about famous actors and actresses, we are the ones that put them up on the pedestal. And one thing I love about COVID and the lack of interviewing people in studios and doing it by Zoom in their own homes, their own makeup and hair, and where the conversations got real, where the conversations really came from the heart and soul and from the struggles and the difficulties. And suddenly we didn't see them up on the pedestal and the stars and like, we saw them as human beings struggling like us. Hello, they are human beings struggling like us, right?
Yeah. And again, I think like, it just surprises me how unaware we are that we just project so much of our own desires and wants and needs onto people that we just put on a pedestal because they have all these things that we wanted. And it's like, no, most of the time they need you to believe that so that they can sell you something.
Right. Right. Selling you an
there's
illusion.
Nothing wrong with marketing and there's nothing wrong with that. But we can accept that truth we can accept that truth without projecting so much of our unhappiness outwards towards these individuals, right? It's like, we are all human beings, and that's it. That's just, if we could all connect on that level, again, like, where would our society be? How would we be coexisting amongst each other with our planet? It would just be such a different way of life. But we're just the structure of society that was created to benefit a subsection of the population, it stifles us. It doesn't allow us to do that. And it's really unfortunate because at the end of the day, it just comes down to us individually and our own level of self-awareness to be able to step outside of that and say, okay, I want to live a little bit differently.
Right.
But to get every single person on the population to, like, on the planet to think that way is very, very challenging, because we have, the economic structure, we have all these things that are like, no,
pushback.
Exactly. And it's funny, like, the pushback though is a very calm pushback. There's no real like fighting, but it's just, no, this is the way it works. So if you want to exist here, you need to do these things, or else that's that.
There's a different pushback coming back right now. I've had a few educators on lately, and it's like they're being stifled with the kind of books they can talk about. And then you've got this whole Texas thing going on with the books they want to pull from the shelf, and they talk about sexual orientation, segregation, anything to do, keeping America white and forget about anybody else, right? Let's go backwards 50 years.
Yeah.
And then literally saying they're going to fine a librarian if a book that they don't like is in there. And so now there's a witch hunt on. And, you know, for me, it is, there is so much beautiful transitioning going on to this higher plane, right? And there's so many people moving over to that because they know that's where the peace, the love, the happiness, the joy, the creativity, everything lies. And they just are so tired of the angst, so tired of the wars, so tired of the bitching. They don't want that anymore. But the people that are making the most noise and complaining the most are the people that are most resistant to this change. Yeah. And they're going to do everything in their power to go backwards, but they don't realize how many people have already gone forwards.
100%. And you know, those people, it's because the ones that are pushing back, they have the most to lose, right? And we see it, I think, even in the athlete world, when you look at how they're just changing the regulations with the NIL rules and allowing athletes to actually make money off of their brand. I mean, that's a new thing. They weren't allowed to do that. And so, but you see that same, you know, you'll see the same pushback from all the bureaucratic institutions because they're the ones that have the most to lose. You know, these universities are losing a huge chunk of their revenue streams, right? Because that's how they were able to make money. And it's just, it's the exact same thing. And these are the people that are going to keep pushing back because they're the ones that have the most to lose. But yeah, it's really empowering that people are realizing, oh, I have a voice here and I'm happy here. Yeah. Exactly. I can make a bit of a difference. But we need to create more spaces and opportunities for that. And it's hard because those people that want to push back, that have so much to lose, they have so much power, right?
They do because they're part of the old school, the old guard, right? But let's look at history. Everything has its time, right? And even the old guard, you know, they know their time is coming. And, you know, we don't need to take up arms against them. We don't need to do anything, but we do need to stand tall. And we do need to stand united. And that is, again, not with the anger, but with the accountability and in unison. And you do that honestly, and you get more achievement done when you're being honest with yourself, when you've stepped into that higher vibration of self-awareness, of self-love, of just that I am willing to stand. Brothers and sisters, polka dot, whatever form they come in, alien, who cares? Right? It's for the rights of humanity, for all life on this planet, for the planet itself, right? In about everybody being recognized for their own divine presence, because we're all here with that presence. There is no one type of people that should, or I'm trying to find the word here, it's suddenly not coming, have the rights to own or dictate what another human being does or what a society does. And we are tired of that. And there's a pushback to it. And the universe gave me a saying 4.5 years ago. The universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up, to change it up and grow up to a higher vibration, but grow up also in our vibration. You know, grow up, human beings, please. You know, this toddler temper tantrums is just getting too much. It really is. Back in the 60s and 70s, we had a love fest. We were all about the love. The music, everything was about the love. But it was seeding for the movement of today, right? Because the world wasn't ready. And the world, some parts of the world isn't ready now. But we as individuals are being called not to come to arms, but to come arm in arm with each other, to rise up to that higher healing, loving, productive, creative vibration, because that's the only thing that's going to save humanity and this planet.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that is just like so beautiful. I don't even want to say anything more because I'm like, that's just so beautiful. I just want to like sit in those words and just be like, oh yes, it's just so warm. But yeah, I mean, when we look at, you know, that ability to stand tall in our truth, right? That comes from that awareness and self-discovery. And we're going to keep getting that pushback, and that pushback hurts. You know, you'll see it first with the people around you.
Yes.
Then, you know, as your awareness keeps growing, you see it at these big levels that we're talking about when we're looking at like institution. But, the more aware we are, the more time we spend in that darkness, that, the peaceful darkness, right? The more time we spend there, the more comfortable, the more comfortable we become with, no, like, this makes me uncomfortable, but I still believe in this. Like, I still believe in my truth, and my voice does matter. And that's how we keep pushing very gently and very peacefully. Like you said, not anger, not pitchforks. It's that I'm very peacefully pushing back, because I know my voice and I hear my voice. And as we each continue to do that, we can definitely see a huge, huge change in our society and how we operate and build the universe that we need for our entire universe to thrive.
And, when we talk about truth, the only truth that we can own is our own. Now, we're not talking about academic truth. We're not talking about rules and regulations truth. We're talking about our inner divine heart, soul, spirit truth, which is the instrument that we are, the instrument we learn to play, whom we're going to play it for, which orchestra we're going to join. It's the ownership of our own integrity, of our own essence. That is the truth that we're talking about. Not, well, that's my truth and that's your truth. Well, my truth is better than your truth. No, it is the truth of your very essence, that when you present yourself to someone, you are giving them the truth of who you are, right? Not a facade, not an expectation, the truth of who you are. And who you believe in, and the love that you resonate. Now, an awful lot of people have, well, I have my truth and I'm going to fight tooth and nail for it. No, that's not the truth we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Because the truth of who you are in your beautiful divine essence, although it can stand up for people, although it can stand up for the rights of others, is peaceful. It is harmonious. That's the energy that is feeding you and that you feed.
Exactly. And it's energy, right? It doesn't have to be that voice. We don't have to verbalize it. It's that people sense that as humans, we're intuitive humans. We've just forgotten, because we have these like super developed frontal cortexes now. Like, we completely forgot that we are instinctive beings. And that's why we don't have to verbalize the truth all the time. Is like, no, I don't have to. I can actually be very quiet in my truth, because people will sense all of that energy around me. And it's that infectious, right? It's infectious. Other people around us hopefully absorb that. And you said, everyone's on our own journey, and hopefully very slowly other people will continue that. But yes, absolutely.
You can speak volumes in silence.
Oh yeah. Yes. Right? Absolutely. I mean, if you're truthful, right? If you're truthful, you can speak volumes in silence, right? If you hear your voice, you can speak volumes.
But others can also hear you in that silence. Not everything has, I'm a verbaler, obviously, but not everybody has to be the voice. Some people just simply being in the presence of others that are in their peace, that are in their silence. It can be an equalizing balance of their own energies, of just allowing them to balance themselves out, to be in their own silence, their own peace. So, this is why meditation, why, monks go in silence. Now, I have a wonderful monk that I found here, Michel Pascal. He takes people into Times Square and teaches them how to meditate in Times Square. He said how to be the mountain amongst the chaos. And it's all very well to have the meditation where you can go into your silence. Wonderful. It had its place, but you've also got to find your peace amongst the chaos.
Yep. And just like we spoke about in the beginning, it's that, it's that darkness, that peaceful, that stillness in you. So everything's still happening around you, but I can still be at peace here and not be distracted, not feel like I have to react to what's happening around me. I can just be at peace and find, sometimes I never know if it's above the noise and distractions or if you're behind it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like there's this silence, but I'm not sure if I'm in front of it or if I'm the layer behind it. But I don't know. Whatever it is, it's still that silence. It's still that silence that's just peaceful and tranquil, and it's what we fill with love, right? It's that positive energy, whatever we have chosen to dedicate our love to. Creative, arts, society, humanity, all those things, right? We just keep filling that silence with just love in whatever form we choose to make it.
I mean, I love interviewing musicians, musical artists, because the commitment to and the conviction of their passion is already their soul talk,
Yeah.
right? And the other day, all my shows are up on SoundCloud now. They're up on other platforms as well, but that's where I started. And somebody liked a particular song that was up there, and it belongs to a young man called Justin Johnson, who does American blues. And I did his show about 7 years ago, and I mean, he can play a guitar out of spade, oil cans, this and that. I mean, just as long as he's got strings, he can make it happen. A wonderful interview. I mean, a wonderful human being. But I went to listen to this piece of music to remind myself of it, and I listened to it 3 times in a row because it just had me moving. It had my soul moving. It had my heart grooving, and it was just the medicine I needed at that time. And very often he might write a piece, but very often it's just that impromptu, let the music speak through him, right? And that's what I love about people who are truly true to their art, to who they really are, because that honesty of who they are, already is transcending them. It comes through the instrument, whatever that gift is, and it's wonderful to see. And he's a young man, and the work that he's doing with kids in schools is great as well, because that's the gift of being in your essence and being in your truth, is the desire to want to share and enable other people to discover their own abilities, or discover a journey of their own joy. And you're going to share it from your joy's perspective.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think, when I just think of when I would publish Human, that was what prompted me. I was like, no, I want to share this experience with other people, because I want people to have this similar dialogue. I want people to start engaging with themselves and realizing when you connect with yourself, you can connect better with the people around you and with your whole world, and you can inspire that all around you. And that was one of the reasons that I decided I actually want to publish this work. It started as journals, became a book, and then I thought, no, I want to publish this because I want people to also experience this sort of way of living as well. And I want people to engage. I want people to connect with themselves, use that connection with themselves to engage with everybody around them, and therefore create this better world, this better society where we can all thrive, not just that same subsection of the population. We want this for all.
And again, the book isn't just for somebody older or later in life, or you're waiting for the publisher. I mean, there is self-publishing today, and there's working with publishers and self. There's so many ways of doing it. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with a young man who it's like spoken word poetry. And although he's got, numbers on the plate so you can identify it, no titles to each poem. It is what it is to you, right? And he was compelled to do it, to share his own journey, his own struggle, so that it lets everybody else know we're all on the journey. We all have struggles, but it's how we choose to look at them. They are lessons. They show us how strong we are, how courageous we are, what abilities we are, who we really are, what we're really here to do. And if you're not willing to go on that journey, you are missing out on you. So the more that you share it, and it becomes that relatability to other people, where like, yeah, I'm going through this too, or I've been there too, or I have a voice too. And it invites them to share their voice as well.
Exactly. It's taking our voices and giving other people's, again, that space to have their own voice. 100%. And it is a very, in my experience, is a very beautiful thing, because like you said, that is the epitome of being truthful. That, hey, I've experienced this for me, I want you to experience this for you as well, right?
You're giving them your gift of your vulnerability.
Yeah.
What greater gift can you give than your vulnerability? Right? But you're giving your vulnerability in strength, which people might think that there's a contradiction. It isn't. Right? It is when you can be vulnerable to be yourself in trust that the divine will look after you. Right? Yeah. That is your strength. That is your strength. So sharing it. But why the name Human?
I mean, I called it, I mean, everything we've been talking about, about being human is that was why it was just one word, very simple. Like, what does it mean to be human? I think that, and I remember when I was picking the title, some feedback I had was that, oh, it sounds like it could be a science textbook, but I was like, fair, but no, right? It's not. I mean, I chose human because, I mean, what does it mean to be human? Right. And that's sort of the dialogue that I try to take the reader through in this book. It was like, I became more human with myself. There's all these different, I talked a bit about the, some of the personal experiences, but each chapter is sort of punctuated with this like universal truth. And it's those universal truths that encompass, what it means to be human. So it was just a very simple way of describing that, at the end, when you close that book, it's like, okay, wow, yeah, this is what it is to be a human being. This is the human is not even a word, it's an essence. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, right?
That the spiritual side of us doesn't need any direction. It just needs to be you to open up a channel and let it free, right? But our humanness is where we have to struggle. Right. This is where we have, where do I fit? Where do I belong? And it's only when we attach the human to the beingness that as a human being, we truly understand the empowerment of being a human. But a human on its own is lost.
Yes.
A human with the integration of its spirit really becomes the essence of a human at its best.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. That is a very beautiful way to say it. 100%. 100%.
We learn so much more from the people who have gone before us, who share their stories. The best teachers are those that have gone through it, not the textbook teachers, that have read about it and detached about it. The people that have lived it, they're the best teachers in life because they understand. And know that they may say these words and somebody else could write those words without the attachment. When somebody's read the words with the attachment, you feel that vibration. Every word you're reading has a frequency to it, has a vibration to it, and those words hit you in a very, very different way, right? So you feel the story, right? Rather than just read the story.
Yes, and it's crazy. I mean, when you think of like, taking that from a mechanical perspective of like writing style, right? But that is I think what differentiates a reading experience is how are these words being used and how are you using these words to create emotion and drive and create that energy. And my style is it's almost poetic, and it's kind of funny because people will ask me like, where does that come from? And that's like my human beingness. And when it's like spiritually connected,
rhythmic.
My thoughts
you go rhythmic.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like my thoughts become that way when I'm in my silence, like we spoke about earlier. My thoughts actually I think that way. And it's this to me, it's almost like a self-love thing for me, right? It's like, that's how I nurture myself, is in this certain voice. And that when I'm super, spiritually connected in that nice quiet place, that's how my thoughts actually come out. And I think I love the experience of writing itself because it is that opportunity to connect with myself and to spend time in that very peaceful, tranquil voice. It's just the whole experience is beautiful. It's not just about writing a book. It's an experience to connect with yourself.
The experience, but energy is not a straight linear line. Everything about energy and the frequency is wavelengths. Our DNA is twisted and wavelengths. Our auras are always shimmering out in wavelengths. Everything about us is about fluidity.
Yes.
Right. And so when you get into the fluidity, you're getting into the rhythm, you're getting into the rhyme, and everything then becomes almost like a song or like a dance. And in that way, it also has the expression, and it has the beautiful divine essence and energy about it that becomes more invitational, right? So when you get into your own rhythm and you speak from that rhythm, that is your song, that is your dance that other people are going to pick up.
Yeah, and that is that essence of being, right? That all of that what you just described, that is being, that is human being right there. Is that finding your voice, finding that stillness, finding that truth, and then dancing in it and sharing it with everyone else to pick up their own dance as well.
Yes. And that's, we've got to that stage, used to be all the psychiatrists and the top doctors, we revered their academic view on the human mind, and they never talked about the human soul. They might touch on the heart, but as you said earlier on, we have had such a disconnect because we went so intellectual, which is chin up, that we forgot to invite our intuitive wisdom, intuitive brain to come in. And when we open up the heart, that's when our divine knowledge comes through, which is the wisdom that can activate the heart in truth, that can lift the spirit into action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And the thing about having data and knowledge in your head, it's just that until the wisdom knows how to use it, right? Because otherwise we find ourselves constantly going into an argument, constantly going into a circle. Yes, but, right? And it's no, sit on your butt, right? Allow the wisdom to come through, because it knows how it wants to use that knowledge in the best way that is going to be most creative and productive.
Yeah. It's space and time, right? Yeah. Space, time, patience, all those things. When we were speaking earlier about the way society is structured, social media and gratification, I mean, none of that helps, right? Because it's just, we're consistently being fed with messages and reminders that you have to act right now. And we literally do not. We can just sit in that, even if it's confusion, sit in whatever state that is, and the answer will come to you. That intuition, you will know what to do in that moment when it's right. And that was always something that I truly kind of believed in, but it was something I never voiced. I never went around saying I believe that, but just very much in my quiet place that I was like, I don't think I need to deal with this right now. My intuition, like, I will have a moment where I will know, okay, I need to address this now. But I think, it does come back to just, again, that silence, that peace, that love, and just making sure space and time, and how do we create that space for ourselves, and time too, even though time is something that we've constructed in a weird way as humans, like, I think a lot of times when we give ourselves that space, it's almost like time slows. That's what I say, is I feel that I control time. Time does not control me anymore. We live where we're like by the calendar, by the agenda all the time, but I don't feel that way. I'm like, no, I control time. Time does not control me. And again, it's that stillness, that peacefulness, that peaceful way of life.
Going back to social media, absolutely everything has an energy signature. Everything has an algorithm. Social media is completely derived from an algorithm. So what you feed and respond to is what is going to come back to you.
Yep.
It can be a wonderful, but it also could be a wonderful platform, as I have experienced, of wonderful people building your tribe, building your village, building your community, where you're there to support each other, there to celebrate each other, there to share the knowledge and the wisdom with each other, and it can expand out beautifully. It's when you feed the flash of hate, or the flash of this, or the flash of that, just pass it on by. Pass it on by. Don't comment, don't do anything, because if you don't feed it, it won't grow.
That is mindfulness in the tech space.
Yes.
Right? No reacting. We just, that's like meditation in tech.
Yes.
Don't react, don't comment.
There are some incredibly wonderful people on there, and it can help your business. It can help you as a person. It can help your spirit grow, right? Know your community. Don't just mindlessly like or respond or react. Be integrative, participate, be inquiring, respond, form a conversation, take it from that platform into the DM, or actually meeting one another, right? Use it as a wonderful platform, a beautiful global platform to meet other people and learn from each other. It's a gift in itself. But like any gift, the hammer can build us a house, but it can also knock someone's brains in. It's a question of how you're going to use it, right? So everything can have a benefit. It's up to us how we choose to use it. And that comes into our own consciousness. The more in tune you are with your soul, heart, and spirit consciousness, the more aware you are on and the responsibility of how you're going to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Choice. It all comes down to choice.
And it gets to a point where you no longer have to think it because you feel it.
Yeah. Yes.
Nope, doesn't feel right. Nope, I'm not going to participate. Yep, I'm going to go and do this. You know, you don't have to think it anymore. You feel it and you do it. But initially, that thought and feeling has to dance together before you kind of get in sync with your own synergy, right?
Yeah, because we have all that frontal cortex, all that the conditioning that lives there. Yes, exactly. We have to very slowly silence that. But yeah, that feeling, that's the intuitive part of being human, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful. And I love seeing, again, you know, the younger generation stepping into that, you know, because you are the future leaders. You are the people who are going to be the decision makers. You are the people that are paving the road for the next generation below you. And the more we step into this self-awareness, self-kindness, self-love, the more we look at each other with self-respect and value, the more we're going to treat each other with kindness and consideration and compassion, and the better a society we are going to build.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And I'm really happy that a lot of these things are starting to become more apparent and aware, even younger than myself. You know, I'm in my late 20s, but I think that, you know, we do see younger high school students engaging in this. When we work with our athletes, we bring lots of mindfulness to the table, and that's with student athletes that are like 15 years old. And and I think it's a crucial age because you're very impressionable at the age of 15, right? So yeah, 100%. I hope it still keeps going in that direction, but it'll be up to us, right? It'll be up to us as society to make sure that we're putting these frameworks in place, these courses, these opportunities in place, so that, you know, the younger generation can keep being more aware of that.
And, you know, to be that person of enlightenment for someone else. You know, we are not seeing a generation reading. We are seeing, you know, some people in the generations where it is cryptic talk. I call it emoji talk. Everything is abbreviated. Unless you have their attention span in 2 seconds, forget it. Oh, I'm not going to listen to anything more than 5 minutes. You know, and no, my shows will never reach them, you know, because we go in depth and they'll have to listen and learn, right? These shows are for the people who really do want to immerse themselves into it. But we do have too many people out there that are pushing instant gratification. And what we're ending up with is a nation of emptiness because I've got everything, but I'm still not happy. No, because happy isn't the outside, it's the inside. And there is no downloadable app. There is nobody you can hire to do it for you. You can hire people that can help you on your way. Yes, you can invest in yourself and all the people that have gone before you that have those wonderful skills, tools, and everything else. Yes, hire them to help you, right? But you're still going to have to walk it. It's your life. It's your journey. Invest in yourself and stop pulling the wool over your own eyes.
It's up to us to see the truth of who we are. And I think, which is all like who we are is who we have become, you know, like
and what you're here for.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
The meaning of life. It's the meaning of life for you is being true to the essence of who you are, doing what you're here to do. Right? That's your instrument. That's your gift. And it may change too. You may go into another gift and another instrument, but it will always come from the core of your essence, right? Of being there for someone else. And that's what the meaning of life is, folks. Be true to who you are in everything that you do.
Yes, absolutely. Making sure that it's all aligned internally. Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you've chosen the path to work with, you know, the athletes who have been pushed and pushed and pushed to their excellence. And, you know, their entire lives have been completely consumed by their sport. And it's like, who am I now? Without my sport, who am I now? And it is a totally different discovery because, you know, most people have the luxury of exploring various different departments of themselves. And for many of these athletes, no, they haven't. And, you know, outside of sports, they don't even really know how to talk to people. So it is really taking this blank canvas and saying, let's see what beautiful picture you can paint of yourself, isn't it? So I imagine it's quite exciting.
It's very, very exciting. We have our first program is coming up in March. I think the second week of March. Very exciting. It's geared towards BIPOC athletes that are between the ages of 15 and 18. And yeah, I mean, we've done all of our programming is built around like the UNICEF models of girl-centered programming. And it's very much about making sure that we engage with the athletes even before the program starts. So we take a lot of time to make sure we understand what are your needs, what are your interests, and just going through all of that is just, it's so beautiful because it's like, you know, we're not looking at you as an athlete, we're looking at you as a human, as you, as who you are. And we want to offer those things that will allow you to explore that, and not allow, empower you to explore that for yourself, because we want you to be the best version, or not even the best, we want you to be you. Forget being the best, we want you to be you, truthful to who you are and what you want to be doing.
And the thing is, this, we all have our own book of life and we all have many chapters in it. And just because you've been this athlete and maybe that road is closed, or you want to close it slowly and have something else to go to, right? That transition to have something to go to later. It is like, well, I knew who I was there, but who am I in my next chapter? What part of me do I take with me in my self-discovery? You know, what part of me can I leave behind? Because you're not going to be a brand new person. You know, the passion, the essence, and the drive to be that athlete is in you. It's just, how do you put it on a different canvas? What is this chapter about? Because then you're not afraid of all the other chapters that are to come. Right? You know that you can go into different chapters. And so many people like myself, completely, I started this 10 years ago at 57. I didn't even know what a podcast was when I started, right? And we're never too late to learn. We're never too late to explore something about ourselves. It's never too late to try something different. Until the day you leave this vessel, just keep being inquisitive, keep exploring. You can have as many chapters in your book as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, when you were saying earlier about, you know, what part of you do you leave behind? I felt that my experience was, I had to not leave this person behind. It's like, how do I nurture this person of myself, this version of myself, right? Not necessary, because I don't think you can. I think that it's like all these versions of yourself kind of coexist inside of you, right? And it's figuring out
how there's certain dominances, or certain patterns. On programming that can be left behind, right? But even like all the abuse that you've been through, that has made you who you are today. But you've chosen to be the light of it, not the dark of it, in the sense of it being negative and positive. You will always have that in your life. It's not going to go away, right? No bottom drawer, never unlock the key. But it just means you're no longer programmed or defined by it.
Exactly. These are things that have happened to me. It's an arm's length away, right?
It's not who you are.
Exactly.
They've happened to you, it's not who you are. But they did help you find your strength, courage, and become the person that you are, right? Because that's why these things are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've interviewed people who have, quite honestly, with what has happened to them as human beings, it is beyond extraordinary, beyond anything. And is how did they manage to find that strength and that courage, or even that desire to become more? Because what happened to them should never happen to any human being at all. And yet they chose to go through that process. And who they are today, with the gift they are today, and the understanding, compassion, and empathy that they have today, is because of where they were. And that's what makes them such a beautiful human being today. So it doesn't matter what the trauma was, or how dark it was, or how alone you felt, or how paralyzed you felt, right? But there's always a way out, but it means going through.
Exactly. You have to go in and through to get out. And it's like that whole experience of, I know for me, it was, like you said, right, kind of disassociating from it. It's like, this was something that happened to me, but it's not who I am.
Exactly.
that's it. But it's long, it's definitely long, definitely arduous. And it's one of those things that I know for myself, I was like in and out, like it was like, oh yeah, I think I'm over it. And then the smallest trigger, but that's like you said, you're never really over it. It's just that nurturing. It's like, this is something that happened to me. It's not me, but I do need to continuously nurture it because it happens, right? Like these are experiences. They leave their imprints, they leave their marks. They take up space and they hide in the body everywhere.
Yes, they do.
Very tiny little things.
And I will tell you that they will come up. But the difference is they'll come up and you go, oh, that's interesting. Why are you here right now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm feeling vulnerable, or I'm feeling low, or I need to do some nurturing of myself. It doesn't mean you're back there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It just means is that there's a feeling that's making you feel sad or uncomfortable, and you look at it and go, all right, okay, I'm looking at this as a little warning sign.
Yes.
And it's like, what am I going to do to empower and to re-strengthen myself? And it is not out to get you again. It can't get you again. Right. But yes, I mean, even today, I still get things coming up from my past. Right. But I can look at it and go, I'm no longer there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love to hear that, because that's been me recently, has been a lot of, oh, that's interesting that's coming up. I wonder what is in this current environment that's triggering this. And it's hard, there are some days I still kind of fall into that trap, and I end up, getting in it. And I'm like, but again, it's like building a muscle, right? It's like training. And that's what meditation is, right? It's training. And with time, with each experience, you keep remembering, oh yeah, I have a choice how far I want to actually engage, if I want to engage in this at all, or I have the choice to be curious and go, oh, that's really interesting. And I find that journaling and meditation were the two things that were so just very beautiful experiences for that, because those things are showing you how to be more aware instead of engaging. It's like you can look at it and see what's in front of you.
For me, kind of blasting on the music, but I do my own show every week, Sarah's View of Life. And sometimes I know what I'm going to say. Sometimes it might be one word, microphone goes on, blah, whatever comes out. But sometimes, something has upset me. And I need to talk about it, and I will talk about it. But as I'm talking about it and going through the process of it, is what can we do about it? I have to close it off with how we can empower ourselves, or how I can empower myself, or how we can look at something different. But I also feel it's okay to address a frustration or an angst, or even get angry over something. What we don't want you to do is become the anger. We want you to be aware of what that anger is, look at it, spend that emotion. Now look what you can do to resolve what's made you angry, right? All those emotions are there for a reason. Go through them, but just don't become them.
Exactly. Don't become them, and don't throw them out at people around you, right? Don't just like throw them, and don't try to get rid of them, right? Spend time with them.
Yes,
don't become them, don't throw them away, just spend time with your feelings.
Or I'm angry, I'm angry at the world. Okay, what does you think? Is it a jog? Do you want to go play something? Do you want to meditate? Do you want to listen to some music? Do you want to do something? Because one of the biggest problems I think that humanity is having, especially in the transition, and the more empathy and compassion that we have, we get very frustrated and feel hopeless at what's going on in the world. And we just feel the injustice of it. And the thing is, we can't heal everything. It is imperative we heal ourselves. Is it imperative that we build a community of like-minded souls where we can work together, right? And it's also, if there's one cause you want to stand up for, help even one person or a small group of people. That will help you feel less powerless, right? Because we can't, as human beings, unless you're a trillionaire, in which case we can take your money and resolve a great deal of problems, right? We can't resolve everything, and don't let it get to you, because you do become more sensitive as you grow into this. And that sensitivity can sometimes get to you. All right. And it's like, take the deep breath. All right. You can send love and light.
Yes.
You can send love, light, and empowerment to other people. But what can you do to help? And if you can't, who else can you help instead?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. Absolutely.
It's a very big trap that people in transition get caught up in. and they feel the hopelessness. Well, what's the point anyway?
Yeah.
I can't do anything. And it's like, the point is your elevation, and the more everyone elevates, the more that diminishes, right?
Yeah.
So we are rebalancing the world right now.
Yeah.
And the universe is helping us. And I've just done a show on people who are crossing over, coming back with messages. And there's a lot of people who have crossed over that have decided to stay around, to become guardians, to pass on the messages and the knowledge that's needed for us to elevate right now. So we're seeing a lot more of our, whatever you want to call them, our angels, our guardians, our people around us. There's also a lot of universal energy around us right now in helping us through this transition, because there is some urgency of it too.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
For me, it'll be, I want to keep dabbling a bit more in music.
Yes.
I have a lot more, I've been writing a lot of it, but I want to actually get to the point of being able to share it,
Right.
for all the reasons that we've been talking about, creating space and again, really inspiring people, hey, this is like my song and dance. I hope you will take it and have your own song and dance with it. I hope it inspires everybody just to be who they need to be for themselves.
Yeah, I have a young man on the same week with you called Gabe, and who's written a song called Flowers. And it's actually kind of him becoming that flower of light, that garden of it. And it was his entire album is about self-love. About finding that self-love, and he was compelled to do it. And I said, because not only do you need it, it's what we all need right now. Right. And we need our artists to go into that whatever helps us in that discovery of self-love right now. That's where we're at. So yes. So when you've done your music, you've got to come back and share it.
Absolutely. I will be happy to share it with you.
Now, where did they get the book? Do you have a site? How can they get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have my personal website, vanessaferlaino.com.
Will you spell that for people who are just listening, please, love?
I'd be happy to. I'm half Mexican, half Italian, so that's where Ferlaino comes from. But my first name is Vanessa, and then Ferlaino is FERLAINO.com. Books on Amazon, and I'm also on Instagram, same Vanessa Ferlaino on Instagram there. So that's where the releases will be posted. And I do like to talk a little bit about like spirituality, lots of stuff about my dog if you want to see her too.
Yes,
she's also there.
Yes, we've got to have the dog in the picture for sure. Dogs are actually, and this was actually another great gift to us during this COVID time, because more and more people got dogs, and they are, cats can be a little bit more aloof, right? Cats is, I'll take you or leave you. You're here to serve me. But dogs, they are most beautiful creatures that are so intuitive and so in tune with us. And so it's really, really good to have a dog or an animal in your life. They're here to teach us, folks. They're here to be, we think, they're our best friend. No, it's the other way around.
Exactly.
So they're here to support us. So and don't forget to say thank you to them.
Yes, say thank you to your dog. I say thank you to my dog all the time. I'm so happy I'm not the only one.
Right? No. I'm so grateful. I haven't had mine now. She died 6 years ago. I miss it today. The love, the companionship, the trust, the wisdom that she gave me through her 14 years was just sublime, right? Because there was no condition to it other than cookies and a walk and love. Thank you so much for sharing today. The book is called Human, right? And it's Vanessa Ferlaino, LAINO.com, and on Amazon you've got everything here on the show page by just putting her name in. And it's, when it's written from the heart and soul, it's felt from the heart and soul. And her journey, I bet you, will parallel your journey. And so if you're in that journey of awakening, you're not quite sure what's happening, there's a transition going on in your life, that you're questioning, that there is something more out there, then pick up a book, because I know you're going to see a reflection of yourself, and it's going to help you create your chapter in life. And the more elevation we have, the better this world and planet and universe will be. So thank you so much for sharing here today, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for those beautiful words. That's so kind. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you back again with your music. So awesome. Until next time, folks, we're all on this journey. It is absolutely awesome. Come on in. The waters are great. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. Please tune in to our selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see all the other genres that we have from you. Every week on Tuesday, we bring you new shows from illuminating people. If you know someone that should be interviewed, please contact us at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com. Now stay tuned for your next show.